We are now going to look at the steps necessary to run DOTD TR207, slump of Portland cement concrete.
Now before we can run a slump test, we need to make sure we have all the equipment necessary. We have our portable work surface here. It's nice and rigid, won't go anywhere. We have our non-porous work surface here that I'm going to put on top of my test base. Alternatively, we could use our portable slump base here. We need to make sure we have our slump cone, standard slump cone. It's clean, it's not dented or anything like that. We need to make sure we have a tape measure to measure the slump. We need our standard 5/8 inch diameter tamping rod. We need a source of water here, good clean water. And we need our standard concrete scoop to help fill the mold. Now an optional piece would be to have the funnel here, which also helps in filling the mold. After verifying that we had all the equipment necessary to run the test, and we've obtained a sample in accordance with DOTD S301, the next thing we need to do is dampen all our test surfaces in preparation for testing. I'm going to dampen the inside of my slump cone. Basically, you want to dampen all the surfaces that are going to come in contact with concrete. You don't want our test equipment to wick moisture out of the concrete and maybe affect the test results. All right, I dampened my funnel, my cone. My tamping rod here is sitting in a bucket of water, so it's dampened. Now because you can't get off of the slump cone once you stand on it here to hold it in place throughout the test, you need to make sure you have everything within reach that you might need. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this mold in 3 equal layers by volume. So because of a cone shape here, each layer is going to be a different height. I'm going to fill my first layer here to about 2.5 inches. I'm going to rod each layer 25 times with my tamping rod here. I'm going to do a spiraling pattern, start on the outside edge and work my way towards the center. Now when rodding the first layer, you want to be real careful not to strike the bottom of the test base. Now in the next 2 layers, I'm going to do the same rodding 25 times each, but I'm going to penetrate the underlying layer slightly. We'll fill the final layer slightly over the top to allow for any consolidation during rodding. And the same thing, I'm going to rod this final layer into the underlying layer slightly. After rodding the final layer, what I'm going to do is take my tamping rod and I'm going to strike off the concrete level with the top of the slump mold. Need to make sure that I clear any concrete that's spilled away from the bottom of the slump mold. Now while holding the handles down, I'm going to step off of the slump cone. Now you want to remove your slump cone in about 5 seconds, and you don't want to twist it or anything, you just want to come straight up with it. All right, I'm going to use my slump cone here as my reference plane. Take my tamping rod, lay it across the top of my slump cone like this, and I'm going to measure down to the displaced center of my slump concrete, to the nearest 1/4 inch. So this is 2 3/4 inches.
Let's review some of the key information about the slump test. The procedure requires a minimum sample size of 0.5 cubic feet. The mold is filled in 3 layers, and each layer is rotted 25 times. The final slump is measured to the nearest 1/4 inch. This measurement is taken at the displaced center of the slump concrete, and the test should be completed in less than 2.5 minutes after the first scoop of concrete is put into the mold.